Hello, Tim Kist of TK3 Consulting. How are you today?
I'm very well, thanks, Scott Donald of SBD Growth.
Is that in your notes?
No,
You
I
improv
just
that.
I improv that. How good was that?
Good for you. Okay, so as we're trying to make a standard or tradition here, we're going to start off this important podcast, which is going to be about good revenue. We're going to start off with a dad joke, and since you're the king, I'm going to let you have the first crack at this.
Sure. Fun fact, Scott. Did you know
Hmm.
that before the crowbar was invented, crows mostly just drank at home?
So you went through a whole bunch, and that's the one you picked?
That's the one I picked.
Okay,
Made you
so
laugh.
here's mine. So I tried to take a picture of myself in the shower today, but I'm not happy with how it turned out. It seems I have self-esteem issues.
Yeah, okay, that's a dad joke.
You
And
didn't
I
know
did
that one, did
laugh.
you?
Nope.
I read it when I saw it. I'm like, self-esteem. Oh, I get it.
Yep,
It took
very
me
good. Well, anytime you get a little pun in there, it's got to be good.
exactly. Okay, so so we were chatting about what we wanted to talk about today, and this whole notion of companies. Every company wants to drive more revenue. So if we were to survey 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 organizations, they all want to drive more revenue. And we started talking about this notion of good revenue versus bad revenue. So did you want to sort of kick us off in terms of what your perspective is on this whole notion of aspiring to get good revenue versus any
Sure.
kind of revenue?
No, be happy to. So the funny, interesting twist on this is that I often give financial colleagues a hard time because, they're all about the numbers and they just look at the numbers. My focus is you need to understand the activity that is taking place to drive those numbers because you can't influence the number itself. You can only influence the activity that's taking place. So the profitable revenue side of things for me is that's what keeps you in business, but don't focus on it. Focus on the factors that are involved here. So, because this is the Sales and Marketing Alliance, I thought I'll take a kick at it and start off from the marketing side. And let's look at the four P's of marketing, which product, place, price, promotion. But it's
Product?
from the place, price, and promotion. And I'll
Okay.
dive into each one very quickly.
Okay.
So, certainly it begins with your product or service, the first P. If you don't have a product or service that people find valuable, it's going to be pretty hard to try and get people to buy it and be profitable. So, secondly, you've got to price it the right way. And this is something that is really challenging because it may be great from, that sort of strict accounting perspective. Oh, we need X% margin, et cetera, et cetera. But that often rarely factors in external pressures, particularly competition,
Yeah.
pricing. Are you a big dog, small dog? Where are you in the marketplace? What influence do you have on this one? So you have to bring some of those external perspectives. Who's going to bring that to you? Your sales team and your marketing research team are going to bring that to you, as well as your frontline who are getting comments from customers. They see the value in the price that they're paying, or they go, your stuff is so expensive. Gee whiz, I'm not sure why I'm buying it, which leads to other issues. The third P to talk about is your place. That's the distribution channel. How do you get it to them? Is it sold through retail? Is it sold direct from you? Is it a service that's provided? Whatever that is, do you make it easy and available for your customers to purchase from you? And then the final one, which too many people, unfortunately, when you ask them what marketing is, they just automatically default to the P of promotion and they think it's just about ad messaging.
Right.
Well, there's so much more than that. So that last P is all about what you say it, how you're positioned, how you're reinforcing things in the marketplace. And then I'm going to slide into a Jeffrey Gitomer quote, which makes so much sense. And it is people don't like to be sold to,
Hmm.
but people like to buy.
Yes.
So from a marketing perspective, sales perspective, this alliance perspective, it's all about that full journey that you're taking your potential customer on to provide value so that they don't feel like you're trying to push something on them.
Yeah.
They look at it and say, this is the one I want to buy.
So I think that's a great foundation. And what I'll add from a sales perspective, and I made some notes here, is that good revenue comes, and this is really kind of where sales and marketing really come together, which is you're focusing on the right kinds of customers.
Mhm.
You know their industry, you know their challenges, you know their opportunities. You can speak from a point of perspective. And when you have that, this goes to the second P. It's easier to not have to discount in order to win business because you can really speak to their problems at a deep level, and then you can connect the dot between here's your problem and here's how we can help you solve it with our product or solution. And because of that fit, there's really no need to discount because they get it. Um, so there's a fit. And then the other part of it is when you're dealing with the right customers, and you know you're a trusted advisor because you know what they're going through and you can speak their language. Because of that, not only do you not need to discount, but it usually expedites the sales process, right? So chances are, if you're seeing a really long sales cycle and or low margins, it goes back to that interconnectivity between sales and marketing, which is who is or who are your ideal clients, and how well do you know them in terms of being able to describe and demonstrate how you help them solve problems or leverage opportunities. And if you're trying to help this many people, then you're flock shooting. And it makes it really hard to be clear on exactly how you can help those folks, which means long sales cycles and discounts.
Right. And it's really important for everybody in the organization to understand this because every little thing that they do at a touch point with the customer can impact their ability and willingness to pay what they need to pay to get you to that good revenue, that profitable revenue side. Little things, even like delivery. So the P for place, getting it to somebody. I mean, I remember working for organizations over the years where the either the FedEx person that came to do the pickups each night or the UPS, whatever company, the really good ones had a relationship with that front desk person.
Yep.
The lousy ones didn't. The good ones, they would be willing to, if somebody said, hey, listen, have you got 2 minutes? We're just waiting for one last little package to get put together. It's really got to get there overnight to the customer, blah, blah, blah. The really good ones are like, for you, I'll make it happen. And you just build that bond and trust. And it's a small thing, but that delivery person understands within the grand scheme of things, all these little things I do extend. And so now when I'm needing to do something on a personal level, gee, I like the way FedEx does things, or I like the way UPS does things. So if I'm doing something on a personal level, I'm now going to use the same one. So you've now said from this one small interaction, I'm looking for additional ways to generate additional revenue. Priced properly, it becomes profitable revenue.
So this comes down to that really fundamental piece that lends itself to good revenue, which is great relationships.
Hmm.
And relationships take time. They take some intentional effort. They take it at sort of a common viewpoint. As you were thinking, or as you were talking there, I was thinking about this notion of, people don't always remember what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. So that delivery driver experience points to this idea of, the fundamental human thing of, do I like this person? Do I trust this person? Can I rely on this person? And, as I think about this notion of part of why I'm struggling to describe this because I think sometimes the challenge is organizations, and this is a sales and a marketing opportunity, look at their market as being really, really broad. So they're trying to be all things to all people.
Yep.
And I know that, and I'm not saying listen, I've done it too, right? Hey, that client has two people that are breathing, so I can probably sell them something, right? Right? But that never works out. And I just think that for me, the one of the keys to good revenue is not only better understanding who your ideal customer or customers look like, but being intentional and brave enough to say, we can't serve this many people, we can serve these folks here. And I wrote down here, the idea of less is more. So whether it's from a marketing messaging component or whether it's from salespeople prospecting and knocking on doors, um, you can't solve everyone's problems. And the better and sooner you're able to zero in on those folks that can really benefit from your solution because you've done the homework to say, this is what our best customers look like, and here's how we make them feel, and here's the problems that we solve for them. But isn't it funny? You have a narrower focus in order to sell more and sell more of the good revenue. And I know it's counterintuitive, but I imagine that that's part of what you're describing here.
That is exactly it. And gosh, you can pick up almost any book or go on any YouTube and do a little search, and you'll find people that will say exactly what you just said too there, Scott. And it's counterintuitive, but it's really important to understand when you're looking at doing customer acquisition, if you have that good customer, that good target customer profile, and talk to them and find out why do you really like us? If you can drill
That's a
down
great
and get
question.
those factors, you'll know why people likely will want to be a customer of yours. So it's not just do the exit interview of the customer that's leaving. What did we mess up on? While that can be important, it's even more insightful to say from your best customers, why do you stay? Why did you come and why are you staying? Those are the things, if you consider building from your strengths, that's what you want to find out. That's what you reinforce. What a great message to give to your staff. Our customer retention rate is super high because they said this is what they value and that's what you people deliver. Suddenly everyone's rah rah and doing something really good.
So if you go back to this initial notion that everybody wants more revenue, and ideally it's a good revenue, and you're making the valid point around, asking your best customers why do they choose you and why are they continuing to work with you? Why aren't more companies doing this?
Oh gosh, you and I have talked about this for the last couple of years. Sometimes it's the ego of the leadership. Sometimes it's the ego in the organization. Oh, we're the best. People are just going to come to us. For various reasons, people as customers, whether it's business to business or business to consumer, people will leave. Things happen. People move, they retire, they get replaced, they die. Companies get absorbed in mergers. Company may close. So if you're not continually looking to add more customers, just relying on that base typically is not going to be good enough for you to grow into the future.
Yeah,
But
that'll be
if you
slow
don't
growth, but not
understand,
the right. That'll be slower growth, but probably not the kind of growth that you really want, right?
right, and at that point, the fear starts to creep in where you go, oh, jeepers, we just need some sales, which gets to your point. Does somebody start cutting costs when they shouldn't? And now we're growing sales, but we're not being profitable with the growth of our sales. So all of these things are interconnected. It does take that holistic view. Sometimes too, and with respect to people, it's hard work to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Is everybody prepared to do the hard work?
It's interesting because I'm thinking about some of my past experiences and some of the folks that I've coached more recently, and there is a continuous theme, and I'm going to bring it up here again in the context of good revenue, that we get so busy in the moment about trying to hit revenue numbers and trying to hit other KPIs. And, somebody somewhere is saying, how many meetings did you book this week? How many proposals are you delivering? All of those things. And we get on to what one of my coaching clients described as a hamster wheel of busy. And we're just running our butts off trying to hit these numbers. And I would suggest that, and this goes back to our previous podcast about kind of doing that quarterly assessment, about, what are you doing well and what can you do better, and slowing down. And maybe you take a day or 2 days or a week and you really lean into those things and you figure out, okay, well, we don't want to waste our next 9 months running on the hamster wheel. We want to make sure that we're taking our valuable time, directing it in the right area. So I guess what I'm saying and I'm trying to summarize your point, which is really it's valuable information and a good investment in your time to slow down, spend that time with your clients, and ask them the hard questions about, why they work with you and why they've not gone someplace else. Because that
Right.
information it is really invaluable, isn't it?
It is. And it's I believe it's a John Wooden quote, slow down to speed up. You get your feet underneath you, you get oriented to what's happening around you, you've assessed all the factors. Now you're ready to say, okay, we can proceed again with some speed.
I love the analogy.
Otherwise, and I'm losing my earbuds here. I'm trying something different today and it's not working.
Yeah, I think people our age probably have to be very careful about earbuds.
Pardon?
What? Sorry.
Yeah.
So you know what? So it's interesting, right? Right. I think we've kind of made the point around again for me from my perspective, good revenue comes from really knowing your customers really well. Now, and ideally a good fit and being able to put together strong proposals that translate into short cycles and high margins. So you suggested that, from a marketing perspective, that would come from sitting down with your clients and asking them those questions, which I think is brilliant, and I would recommend more companies do it. From the sales side, what I've written down here is the idea of, you've done the work in partnership with the marketing group. So now you have a better and a clearer idea of who your best customers look like. And then when you go talk to somebody, you do that thing that we talk about all the time, which you do more qualifying and more discovery to make sure that just because they look and act like your best customers, are they really do they fit, right? Because you could have all these demographics, and then you ask the question, and you may find out that even though they're in the right industry and at the right size and they do all the same things, they make their decision criteria based simply on price.
That could be it. Or what you really want to find out is what are the criteria that they're making their buying decisions on.
Exactly.
So assuming it's one thing, we know what happens when you assume. So we won't
Yeah,
go there.
usually me.
Yeah. Sometimes me. So it's it's you're right. And it's the ability to step back and collectively and with everything you and I have talked about, it is the importance of that sales and marketing alliance because you're bringing internal and external viewpoints together and saying, what does this mean? How does it then translate into any changes we need to make to our future plans? Or what do we need to reinforce because it's working really well? It also gives you that opportunity to explain to the finance people and the senior leadership, here's the activity that created these numbers, and this is what we're doing to manage it or adjust it accordingly.
Right. This
Pretty
is the
simple.
methodology that we're using to come
Yep.
up with this. And maybe one of the final points that I'll make to drive this home is there's a lot of I can't speak to the marketing people, but there's a lot of salespeople that are working their tails off to hit a number. And I've done it myself, and I've worked with folks who have done it, is that it's easy to fool ourselves in thinking busy is being productive,
Hmm.
right? So, you're chasing after these opportunities, and the example that I'll give is that, I've been calling on Tim for a couple of years now, and every couple of months, we have a chat, maybe one or two times a year we go for lunch or something. I really liked him. But if I had a really hard discussion with myself, or if I asked him a couple of those really challenging questions that I was probably too afraid to ask in one of our first meetings, I would realize that Tim doesn't fit into the category of someone who's likely going to buy from me. And so I have to decide, do I want to spend a certain amount of my time chasing after opportunities that are likely not a good fit, which means we're going to have to discount? Or do I make the hard decision and say, Tim, I really enjoy your company, but this is, I don't see us working together here and spending more of your, because the most valuable resource we have from a sales perspective is time.
Right.
And if you, oh man, I wish I could have talked to younger, less wrinkly, slightly more handsome Scott, and given him this advice a number of years ago, because, I've done it and I've seen lots of people do it, chasing after that opportunity that's not a good fit. And so not only are you wasting your time, but you're very likely going to have a long sales cycle, and you're going to likely have to discount to earn that business with that person. So, the message here is that all revenue from a sales perspective isn't created equal. And the earlier you're able to have those hard discussions with yourself and with your sales team to weed out those folks that aren't a good fit and that you're going to have to discount so you can do a better job and spend more time with those ideal customers, the more likely you are to get that good revenue, which is going to be more consistent at a higher margin. It's going to take you less time to close it. So that's the sales perspective. How would you like to wrap it up from a marketing perspective in terms of key activities for good revenue?
Well, I think it goes back to being in sync with what's happening on the sales side, and it's taking that financial management mindset and saying if we do these activities, pick the P for promotion, for example, if we're spending money on advertising, sales support material, whatever it might be, search engine optimization, etc., are we optimizing for the right reasons with the right message that
Hmm.
is going to help find and reinforce the key message to the kinds of buyers that we'd like to get to? So, from a marketing perspective, it's taking a look at all four P's, linking it together and saying, is this the kind of position that we'd like for people to have about our organization and our products or services so that they can buy? And it's because everything at every point, every touch point, the whole customer journey, we have an opportunity to make a positive impact. Are we doing it?
And that's the entire goal. And one of the things that occurred to me as you were chatting is that in organizations where sales and marketing really are collaborative and really are aligned, sales and marketing are working together to create that filter process to say, is this a good fit customer or is this not a good fit customer? Because I imagine if you just left it up to marketing or you just left it up to sales, you're not going to get there. But when you're
We
working
need it like
together,
this.
when you're
We need it
working
like this.
together, magic happens with rainbows and unicorns and all those wonderful things and worlds singing, holding hands and singing Kumbaya. So get those sales and marketing teams working together.
Absolutely. Great way to wrap it up.
All right,
Unicorns
Tim.
and
Well, listen,
sparkly
thanks for
things.
this. And again, folks, if you want good revenue, sales and marketing need to work together and have those hard conversations about where you want to spend your time helping the right customers. All right, Tim, enjoy the rest of your day.
You as well. Thanks, Scott.